there's a statement that doesn't make sense. And the fact that it doesn't make sense is exactly what makes it dangerous. Mazda CEO recently said their rotary engine will shake up the entire electric vehicle industry. Not compete with it, shake it up. And if you know anything about the automotive world right now, you know how insane that sounds. Because every government, every major automaker, every analyst has spent the last decade telling us the same story. Electric vehicles are the future. Internal combustion is dead. The transition is inevitable. So when Mazda company that discontinued their rotary engine over a decade ago because it couldn't meet emission standards says they're bringing it back to challenge EVs, it sounds like desperation. Like a company clinging to the past because they can't compete in the future. Mazda didn't quietly announce a new engine. Their CEO made this statement publicly, loudly, with full confidence. And you don't make a claim like that unless you're either delusional or you know something everyone else is pretending not to see. So, what does Mazda know? To understand why this matters, you need to know what the rotary engine actually was. Not the version Mazda is building now, the original one. The one that became a legend and then disappeared in the 1970s and 80s. Mazda did something no other car company could pull off. They took a design from a German engineer named Felix Wankel, a rotary engine with no pistons, no cylinders moving up and down, and made it work. Most companies tried and gave up. Mazda turned it into the RX-7, and if you've ever been to a car meet, or watched street racing culture, or spent any time around car enthusiasts, you know what the RX-7 represents. It wasn't just fast, it was smooth. The engine revved without the jerkiness of a piston engine. It was compact, so the car was light and agile. And the sound, this high-pitched, screaming whine bee, came iconic. The rotary engine made Mazda's identity. It separated them from Honda, Toyota, Nissan. It gave them a cult following that still exists today. People still buy second-hand RX-7 South, spend tens of thousands modifying them, and treat them like sacred objects. But then the problems started showing up. Fuel economy was terrible. The engine produced incredible power, but it burned through gasoline like it was going out of style. Reliability was inconsistent. These engines would break down after long use, and repairs were expensive. And then came the biggest problem: emissions. As environmental regulations tightened around the world, the rotary engine couldn't keep up. It was a pollution machine, so Mazda discontinued it. The RX-8, the last rotary-powered car, was killed off in 2012, and the world moved on. Except Mazda didn't really let it go. In 2023, they brought it back in the MX-30, a hybrid, where the rotary engine wasn't powering the wheels, but acting as a generator to extend the battery's range. It was a test, a small experiment to see if the rotary could survive in a new form. And now, Mazda's CEO is saying this experiment is about to become a weapon. But this only matters once you understand what's actually happening with electric vehicles, because the story the industry tells and the reality customers are living through are two very different things. The promise was simple: EVs are clean, they're the future, and once infrastructure catches up, all the problems will disappear. Charging stations will be everywhere. Batteries will get cheaper. Range anxiety will be a thing of the past. That was the promise. But here's where we are right now. Battery costs still make up roughly 40% of an electric vehicle's price. That's why even the cheapest EVs are out of reach for most people. Yes, prices are slowly coming down, but slowly is the key word. If you're waiting for EVs to be as affordable as a used Honda Civic, you're going to be waiting a long time. Then there's charging infrastructure. In major cities, Los Angeles, New York, parts of Europe, charging stations are spreading. But drive through rural America, through Southeast Asia, through most of Africa, and you'll realize how incomplete the network actually is. People are told to just plan your route, but planning your route around charging stations is not the same as pulling into any gas station. Whenever you need fuel, and even when you find a charger, you're waiting. Fast chargers can get you to 80% in 30 minutes, if you're lucky. Regular chargers take hours. Compare that to 5 minutes at a gas pump, and you start to see why people hesitate. But the biggest issue, the one that haunts every EV owner, is range anxiety. You're told your car can go 300 miles on a charge, but then you turn on the air conditioning. Or you get stuck in traffic. Or you drive in cold weather. And suddenly, that 300 miles becomes 220, maybe less. And you start doing math in your head. Can I make it? Should I stop now? What if the next charger is broken? That fear doesn't exist with a gas tank. You know exactly how far you can go. And you know gas stations are everywhere. The EV industry has been saying for years that these problems are temporary. Just wait, just give it time. But it's been over a decade, and the problems are still here. Smaller, maybe, but not solved. And Mazda looked at that gap, the space between the EV promise and the EV reality, and saw an opportunity. So here's what Mazda actually did. They didn't just bring back the old rotary engine and hope people would buy it for nostalgia. They rebuilt it from the ground up for a world that doesn't want internal combustion anymore. The new rotary engine is a range extender. That means it doesn't directly power the wheels. Instead, it charges the battery when it runs low. You drive on electric power most of the time. Quiet, smooth, zero emissions. But when your battery hits a certain level, the rotary engine kicks in and generates electricity, giving you hundreds of additional miles without needing a charging station. This solves range anxiety immediately. You're not gambling on finding a charger. You're not doing mental math about whether you'll make it. You just drive. And because the rotary engine is so compact, smaller and lighter than a traditional piston engine, it doesn't add much weight to the car. Weight is one of the biggest problems with EV. Batteries are heavy, which means you need more power to move them, which means you need a bigger battery, which makes the car even heavier. It's a cycle. The rotary engine breaks that cycle. Mazda also claims they've fixed the old problems. Fuel efficiency has been dramatically improved with modern fuel injection and cooling systems. Emissions have been reduced with advanced catalytic converters and cleaner combustion technology. And they're designing the engine to run not just on gasoline, but on biofuels and synthetic fuels, which means it can adapt to whatever fuel sources become dominant in the future. But here's the really interesting part. Mazda isn't marketing this as better than EV. Yes, they're marketing it as better than the EV experience. Because the technology of an instant torque, smooth acceleration is impressive. But the experience of owning one, that's where the cracks show. With a rotary-powered hybrid, you get the efficiency and smoothness of electric driving, but without the infrastructure dependence. You get long-range capability without the cost of a massive battery. You get the option to refuel in 5 minutes instead of waiting half an hour at a charger. And for enthusiasts, people who actually care about driving, you get something EVs can't provide: an engine, a sound, a connection between the car and the driver that battery-powered vehicles have completely erased. Mazda is betting that people don't just want a car that's technically advanced, they want a car that works for their actual lives, and that bet is making the rest of the industry very uncomfortable. Tesla built an empire on the idea that EVs are inevitable. Their entire brand is about being the future. Elon Musk has spent years mocking internal combustion as outdated, primitive, a relic. If Mazda's rotary hybrid actually succeeds, if customers start choosing it over Tesla's, it doesn't just hurt Tesla's sales, it undermines the entire narrative. BYD, the Chinese giant that's now the world's largest EV maker, has a different problem. Their strategy is volume and affordability. They're flooding the market with cheap electric cars, undercutting everyone on price. But if Mazda can produce rotary hybrids that are even cheaper because they don't need massive, expensive batteries, then BYD's entire advantage disappears. Then there's Toyota and Honda. Both of them have been slow to go Elon on EV. Toyota especially has been saying for years that the future isn't just electric, it's hydrogen, hybrids, and multiple technologies working together. A lot of people in the industry have mocked Toyota for this, calling them outdated, saying they're going to get left behind. But if Mazda's rotary engine proves that internal combustion can still compete in a hybrid format, Toyota looks like a genius. They've been developing hybrids for decades. They have the infrastructure, the supply chains, the expertise. If the industry shifts even slightly away from pure EVs, Toyota is positioned to dominate. European automakers BMW, Mercedes, ODR in a trickier spot. They've invested billions into EV platforms. They've committed publicly to phasing out combustion engines. But Europe still has incomplete charging infrastructure, and battery costs are a huge problem there. If Mazda's rotary hybrids start selling in Europe, it forces these companies to ask a question they don't want to ask. Did we bet too early on a technology that isn't ready? The interesting thing is, nobody's dismissing Mazda outright. If this was just a PR stunt, competitors would ignore it. But they're not. They're watching, and that tells you something.